welcome everyone to another edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, and I'm joined by the hardcore crew. First, from the Skeldon Realms, he's the Lord Skeldon himself, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's going on?
Nothing much, kind of quiet. Not that much news here in wrestling right now, but I'm ready to go. Let's see where this our travels take us.
All right. And then, of course, over at Lance Moss TV, he's the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's shaking?
Not much. Falls in the air. Coffee's in my cup. And before we get started, it's Joe at ScholdersRoom.com.
But I didn't even say anything.
Well, the night
yet.
is young. The night is young.
Jesus.
All right. Let's get down to it. Thunder Rosa gave an update on her injury. She was injured back in last August, while Rosa still holds the title as AEW Women's Championship. Toni Storm's been carrying the weight with the interim Women's Championship. She also said, Rosa stated that she's expected to return as soon as this January, and will be taking issue with Toni Storm, where she talked about a couple of weeks ago. The interim championship is silly and stupid, so those two will definitely be clashing sometime right after Rosa's return, Joe.
Yeah, I'm also sick of that intern thing. There used to be a golden rule in professional wrestling. It was hardly ever followed, but it was there. 30 days you were allowed to hold on to your belt. You had to do one title defense, which Hulk Hogan made famous. You had 30 days to defend your belt. If you could not defend that belt, you were stripped of it, and either a tournament or the number one contender was handed the title. Yes, she has an injury. I think it's more of a kayfabe injury. She more was ousted out right now because of the issues she was causing backstage. We talked about this. I'm not going to droll into it, but yes, there was a lot of issues that she did. And honestly, it's I think they already should get rid of this damn intern bullshit, and they need to give as much as I think she still needs tons of work in the ring. They need to get rid of this intern stuff and keep the belt on Toni Storm until somebody, a woman wrestler who's been in AEW for some time, should have the belt. I vote for Jamie Hayter.
And you know what? Jamie Hayter definitely would be a true contender. We've already seen Britt Baker have it. I don't want to see Paige, Saraya, who just walked in the door 5 minutes ago. Don't want to see her have it. I mean, she hasn't even wrestled a match, so. Lance, your thoughts on this?
Well, I follow Thunder Rosa on her YouTube channel, and she's actually had been complaining about a lower back injury for almost a year. But somebody I'd like to see that hadn't been, if she could get healthy, Chris Statlander.
That would be another good match. So again, there are other women in the wrestling industry, or at least in AEW, that is deserves at least a shot, if not a title reign.
Rick, over in the YouTube channel in the chat room, once again we are joined by Terry 3Gs. He says hello and welcome to all evening, ladies and gents. All the ladies have left. They all left the building as soon as we walked in. So.
Isn't that always the case? Welcome aboard, Terry, and we want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. But as far as what's going to happen right now, Tony Khan's the one who is determined to keep this interim term bullshit, so that way when one of his favorite wrestlers gets hurt, he doesn't want to take the title away from him. It tells me that, I hate to say it, that Tony Khan really needs to grow some balls and realize it's his fucking company, and not worried to hurt somebody else's feelings. But nevertheless, it's just one of those things. So we're gonna move along, and Buff Bagwell recently spoke with Chris Van Vliet, where he stated he thinks he has one more run in wrestling with him. Bagwell has been clean for about only 40-plus days. This was after his 4th rehab visit. However, the one thing Bagwell doesn't even want to be known to as Buff Bagwell anymore. It's something part of his life. He says that's his old chapter. He wants to be called Mark or Marcus, but he's actually created a new funny gimmick. It's like a Mr. Rogers gimmick, which he calls himself. I guess it's Mr. Bagwell. He does the whole thing, zipping up the hot tie. I don't know. Have you seen this, Joe?
I've heard it. I've seen the pictures. You know, I gotta say, congrats to him. He had a lot of issues that he was going through. Yes, you know, he was one of those guys that I thought we were going to lose another one. You know, we just lost Scott Hall last year, and on the anniversary, Kevin Nash lost his son. So, you know, we don't need to keep losing workers. We need to have these guys, you know, get clean and do something positive in the wrestling community. Now, this gimmick of Mr. Bagwell's neighborhood has possibilities if he can pull it off. I'm guessing eventually, sooner or later, he's gonna flip out and like destroy the trolley, choke out King, fucking King Friday, and bang Lady Aberlin, who was. I kind of remember almost all the characters. That's how old I am.
Well, in our chat room, there was actually a video where he was first trying the gimmick. And it was kind of funny. He walked through the door, and he actually looked like Mr. Rogers. We wouldn't even recognize him as Buff Bagwell because he's completely clean-shaven.
Yeah. And
he has his hair, like, you know, like brushed over to the side like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, the clean part.
Yeah. And he's silver. He's got silver hair. So, you know, last time I saw Buff Bagwell, he was buff and the stuff. And this was an NWO. That was the last time I really saw him. I don't even think he came to WWE after he.
One match.
Oh, he had one match. Thank you.
And then he got fired.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, it appears that sobriety is more than an issue. Back in 2020, he's right now, Buff Bagwell got in a serious car accident and is now facing a possible amputation on his knee. Right now, doctors have made one operation in hopes to keep the amputation off the table. But Joe, I mean, you know, apparently they had to do some kind of like take a piece of his calf out or some kind of muscle from his calf and put it on his knee. Now that already tells me right now you got a broken wheel.
Oh yeah. There's no way you're going to be 100%. You know, something like that. I think that's what also drove him to where he went to that dark place, because, you know, your wrestling career, this is the thing in professional wrestling, and I noticed that live being in it. These guys, when they get in it, some of them don't think of anything else. They don't move forward. They don't think of, maybe I should learn a different trade. Maybe I should put some money away. You know, they're living the moment. And I've seen guys do that. You know, you live that immediate moment. And for guys like, you know, like even Bagwell's condition, you know, when you get there and you get to that point where you're not doing the high flying drop kicks, you're not doing all this, and your bookings are less and less and less, and you're no longer the stuff, pun intended, you kind of, you know, you start going to a dark place because you have no idea what else to do. You know, there was a wrestler, Shane Douglas, for instance. Shane Douglas was working at a Costco, you know, even though he's Shane Douglas, you know, the guy who was a multiple-time champion in WCW, you know, WWE, ECW, and that's, you know.
I think, honestly, I know we're off topic, but when it comes to Shane Douglas, I think the only success he really had was in ECW.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that, and he was a tag team champion in WCW. He was a co-holder of a couple of times with the tag titles.
True. I mean, he did, but again, he didn't really get his fame or notoriety until it was in ECW.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Character development. That's what it's all about. But
yeah.
With Bagwell, when you come to that point in time, and when you have a situation that you have a bad leg, you better have a hell of a good backup, or you better develop your character to be something else. Because if you're still looking to be in wrestling in this condition, he's going to have to either be a manager or like an actual commentator or a spokesperson or backstage interview. Because
Actually, you know what? You did make a good point. Lance, do you think that Mr. Bagwell's character would work as a manager?
The Mr. Bagwell's neighborhood, no. Buff? Hell yes.
But you know what, though? I mean, the guy is golden gray. You can't say I'm buff and I'm the stuff.
Yeah, but just that charisma and all of that, just that over-the-top personality that the character of, or the gimmick of Buff Bagwell was, that could get somebody over so damn much.
Okay. Well, recently, Bagwell did announce that he appeared at GCW. He took a bump with crutches, and of course, from Joe's best favorite wrestler of all time, he took a super kick from Joey Janela. So he said he thinks he can take a good, clean bump, and Lance, there's a difference between taking one bump and wrestling a match.
Yeah. Now, honestly, and back in the WCW days, I was a big fan of Buff.
Me as well.
But when you're risking possible amputation of your knee, now you ain't Devon Eric that had to wrestle with a prosthetic foot in your boot. Buff, live off of wrestlers' retirement and hit the signing scene. You'll get a lot of money there.
That's true. Joe, any final thoughts on this?
I agree with Lance. Now is the opportunity for him to literally.
What's that, Joe?
What?
What's that? What did you say?
What did I just say?
Yeah, we're coming in a little staticky, but.
Okay, hold on a minute.
Sorry, folks, with the technical difficulties.
How's that? Better?
Yep, much better.
Okay, no, what I said, I definitely agree with Lance.
And I just wanted to hear him say it again.
Yeah, no, you know what? If he's got a bad wheel, honestly, he just needs to, kind of sit back and now just live out whatever he can, because you're obviously in that state where, you can't go anymore. Even taking a bump. Wrestlers at a certain age should not take a bump unless they can actually deal with it. Look at Flair. That's a perfect example why you should not do any more bumps.
Well, Flair, in all fairness, he was like 70 years old and he had heart issues, which I guess having, being younger with a bad, with the fear of amputation hanging over your head, that's another issue. I would want to take care of that first. I mean, his sobriety, okay. We've seen wrestlers who have gone back and forth with sobriety. But nevertheless, I think we should move on. Ava Raine, who is Rock's daughter, known as Simone Johnson, debuted on NXT earlier this week. And it really was a pretty interesting debut. She was the fourth member of a new mysterious stable called Schism. Already the fans have given mixed reviews. Some have thought that she should have joined Roman Reigns as a bloodline faction, while others are just overall unimpressive or debut. Lance, what's your thoughts on Ava Raine?
Well, okay, and I did witness her father's debut in the wrestling business because he broke in here.
Yep.
It's about on par with Brock's first match as first appearance as Flex Cavana here. So she's got room to grow. She might need to talk to her dad about some tips on promo, but I thought she did a pretty good job.
Well, Joe, I thought her promo was somewhat decent. But again, I think the best idea was for her to stay far away from the bloodline as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. The poor girl just got into wrestling. She doesn't have any DUIs yet. That's a high recommendation for being in the bloodline. So,
Family tradition.
yeah, the only reason Roman Reigns hasn't been caught yet is because he has good lawyers. Over in the YouTube chat room, Terry says, "Imagine Buff as the host of Funhouse." So,
No.
yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
but Buff could make part of the Funhouse gimmick in WWE. Yeah, probably. I'm gonna quote Terry here. I believe it was Terry that posted in our Facebook chat. Don't Ava Raine or Pebbles Flintstone, because she's the Rock's daughter. I guess that makes her a Pebble.
Okay.
Doesn't she look like she's the Rock in drag? You know,
You know what? I disagree. Honestly, I mean, she does look similar to her father, and she had those bushy ass eyebrows, but she's trimmed them down. She's put makeup on, and I'm sorry, I think she's kind of hot. I don't know, Lance. What do you think?
Do you smell what her cooch is cooking?
I hope her coochie isn't cooking anything.
well, she's in the WWE. We never know if the cooch is gonna get pooched, or smooched.
No, they made him quit the company.
Yeah.
He retired.
Rick, I looked at this. They need to keep her on NXT. Let her hone her craft. Less, not in front of the camera all the time. This is her moment to make it or break it. She's either going to make it in the world of professional wrestling. Just because your dad is The Rock, it doesn't mean that the genes, the grapefruits, or the skills and abilities are passed down. You can take as much training, learning, and everything as possible. It goes by determination and the passion for the business. If she's looking at this, well, now I don't have to go to work a regular job, then obviously that's where her career is going to be, like mediocre. I think they should keep her once in a while, not on NXT TV. Definitely don't bring her to the mains. Don't involve her with the bloodline. Let's let the girl learn before pushing her faster than she needs to be. Every time you do that, you put so much pressure on a person that they either make it or they crumble. And let's face it, there is only one Rock in professional wrestling. There's only one Stone Cold in professional wrestling. There's only one Hulk Hogan in professional wrestling. There's many who've come and many who've failed. Ted DiBiase Jr. was one. Alpha Jr. was another one. So let's give her time. Let's see how well she does before everybody starts toting the bandwagon or really putting the girl down. She just needs to learn. Before I pass it back to you, Rick, Terry also says, yeah, she's getting better makeup grooming tips. Her debut, from what I saw, was kind of meh. As he said, future potential, possible future potential. Let's see what happens with it. And as far as makeup goes, yeah, I bet you they looked at her and just got the best Hollywood makeup star. If they could make Charlotte Flair look somewhat decent and make Cocaine Becky look like she's flipped out, and better yet, they probably got the same person who did Ronda Rousey's raccoon makeup.
Well, the WWE, they don't exactly come cheap. Well, actually, maybe aside from the makeup crew, they probably are not being underpaid. But nevertheless, let's move on. One person, Nikki Cross, made her return last week on Raw. She finally dropped the almost a superhero gimmick and revamped her old, crazy, sick-ass, twisted gimmick. Although she's far more sexy as hell. I mean, she is gorgeous. Lance, I know you've always been a fan of Nikki Cross, but did you see her return?
Hell yes.
Okay, well, and so what's your thoughts? I'm going to kick it to you.
The Banshee is back. Hell yes.
All right. And you know what? It came out towards the very end, right after Bianca Belair faced off Bayley in a non-title match. Of course, it was a non-title match. And anyway, regardless, Cross went right after Bianca Belair. So everybody first thought, well, oh, so she's going for a title shot. But then, as twisted as Cross is, she goes right after Bayley. So what's going on here, guys? Joe, what do you think's happening here?
They're testing the water. Somebody finally looked at her and just says, okay, you're not a superhero anymore. That time has come and gone. You're not Rosie. You're not the Hurricane. So I think the time came. They saw how it fizzled. It didn't do anything. They realized, okay, let's make her up, make her look like a good-looking girl with, what was it, with Rosie Lotta Love, her partner, Dewdrop. That didn't go over. That didn't happen well. So they just said, you know what? They just tossed it up in the air and says, let's go back to basics. And they let her lose. They should have never changed her gimmick from day one. She was better off as the screaming banshee, like Lance says, from the get-go. And I guess this time around they show that, okay, look, she's really mentally damaged. She went from being the screaming, banshee to a superhero, to teaming up with Honeydew, and now moving forward, they said, you know what, we've tried it all. Let's let her be her. Let's let her go back to that original gimmick. And obviously, they played it off that she's mental. She looks at attacks Bianca Belair and says, okay, I'm gonna beat this bitch down. And then she looks at Bayley and says, well, she's in the ring too. Let me beat her up. So you kind of got the tweener, and that's what's good because you never know what side she's going to explode on. It makes for an interesting character. It's something that she needed herself. Nikki Cross needed to go back to that state where people don't like even from the bad girls to the good girls. They're going to be like, okay, we can't trust her. We don't know whose side she's on. So she can attack either one and wouldn't care because she's crazy. That's good. Damn right. Let her be Cross.
Well, y'all done woke up the twisted little sister of sanity. Congratulations, Divas or Women's Division.
Rick. Rick, yeah. I want to throw something in here. Do you think the timing of her change could fit into the Sister Abigail gimmick? Like, I'm testing the waters out?
That had Vince all over it.
Right. Terry in the chat room says Nikki's new look is much better. And again, definitely agree. Rick, Terry says Rick's sound is not coming through.
Sorry about that. My sound wasn't coming through. And but again, I'll have to say when we're talking back about Nikki Cross real back, I think I like this new character, and I can see her, and I hope she gets a 2.0. And Terry, thanks for the heads up.
now going from the highs to the lows.
To the very lows. It's Dominic Mysterio this past week on Raw claimed that he is this generation's Eddie Guerrero. Now,
notice the crickets were around that when he said that.
Well, no, he actually got. Go ahead.
No. I said even in here.
In the chat room.
No. Right here in our little studio, you, me, and Lance let the crickets go for a few seconds, like.
Yeah.
Like Eddie Guerrero legacy,
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like they're desperate. they decided to have Rey Mysterio go over to SmackDown as some kind of a story, or they're kind of holding the story up for WrestleMania, where I can't fight my son. I can't fight my son. So they went over and he did that, and then Dominic makes this stupid ass proclamation, which I'm sure is done by the script writers.
Well, Rick, let me cut you off right there. Remember the joke around the time was that Eddie Guerrero did say, like, he's my son.
Oh, yeah.
So this could be something just to, let's face it, Dominic is not an imposing figure. He looks like Ralph Wiggum's grown up. He's like that kid that says, please beat me up for my lunch money. He's got potential. He's got the moves. Obviously, there's no doubt about that. As far as, you look at him, he should have been a mask wrestler. And if anything, he should have gone from a colorful mask like his father, like inherited the mask, or inherit a mask, because that's how they do in Mexico for Lucha Libre. Then they should have gone, like, if he's going to turn on his father, he should have came out with a black mask then. Like, this is the dark side of me.
But I think even though, Lance, I mean, maybe you could agree or disagree with me, I don't think the mask would have made any real difference. I think, honestly, he should have started it down in NXT or maybe even in the indie scene.
Well, okay. Honestly, he's got what's called a baby face. So actually a mask would probably help Dominic be a little bit more intimidating. Because I'll put it like this. You shave Braun Strowman, he has the same damn problem. He looks just like a giant kid. So, yeah, it would help. But the thing of him saying he's this generation's Eddie Guerrero, well, that's a good way to get heat.
You know what, though? I think it's cheap heat. And I think there's a difference between getting good heat and cheap heat. And I think, Joe, honestly, that's all that was just, cheap heat.
Oh, absolutely. They are running out of options for this kid to do. They thrust him into the spotlight too early. He went in there and he's already got a couple of titles under his belt. He has improved. There's no doubt about it. The kid has good ring skills. Still needs a lot to go. But let's face it. In the line of his father, Rey Mysterio Jr. and Eddie Guerrero, this Dominic is a long way before he even gets into that. And Eddie, when he was a heel, Eddie was a fun heel to watch. He would do the chair, hit the chair on the mat, toss it to his opponent, and lie down and steal a win that way via disqualification on the other person.
Yeah, he was the happy heel, the heel you wanted to cheer for.
He was the comic relief heel.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider that as Eddie being heel. For me, Eddie heel was the WCW run it was him versus Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that too, that was another. See, that, but it
was lie, cheat, and steal, and that was something that he just lived by, and he was just happy a guy about it, as opposed to the dark, ugly character. And I think
I'm sorry, Rick, but he had to prove himself to use everything in his arsenal to get past that mediocre status, and it worked.
Absolutely. So right now, I want to move along again to another subject. Carl Anderson has been double booked for New Japan's Battle Autumn and Crown Jewel. Now, here's the thing. He was booked to defend his never openweight championship battle at New Japan's Battle Autumn. However, again, as I said, he's booked for Crown Jewel. But here's the thing. Anderson was booked to be at Battle Autumn before he even signed with the WWE. So New Japan was trying to get in contact with Anderson, negotiate on how to resolve the issue, but with no response. So New Japan Pro Wrestling gave him an ultimatum. If Anderson chooses not to appear at Battle Autumn, he will have to have his championship stripped. Anderson responded after that responded by saying he will not vacate his title. He would defend his title on his time, and he would have to go through his booker, who ironically is Anderson Gallows. I'm sorry, Gallows. So, Joe, let me ask you. You've been in the industry. How do you deal with somebody who's been double booked, especially on a big name with two big events? How does that get resolved?
Well, if you're the talent, you go for the better payday. Let's put it that way, and the longevity. But in this case, he's kind of at the loose ends here, because if he chooses the New Japan booking, where if anything fails, let's put it this way, if anything screws up with WWE, the hell is that noise?
It's not me.
Oh, no, it's over here. All right. So if you're, especially for Gallows and Anderson, sometimes their bookings get, let's say their career stance doesn't work well. We've seen them go from WWE to being released. They go to New Japan, make a ton of money, then go to Impact. They kind of need that New Japan deal, that Japanese deal in their back pocket. But at the moment, they're being booked at Crown Jewel, which is obviously more money than they're going to get at the Japanese deal. So there's two things here. You work your Japanese commitment early. You work an early match, get it done, drop the belt, fulfill your commitment.
About going from Japan
to Saudi Arabia.
To Saudi Arabia on the same day. And they're pretty much the same.
That's a long-ass flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it like this. In order for him to, that will probably have to be the deal. And he won't make either one if he chooses one or the other. Here, he's at the crossroads. I would just say, look, strip me of the belt. Let me come back again to do this.
Well, that was another thing. He says, I will never strip this title. I've never been stripped of a title. So, again, that's not happening. At least not in his eyes.
Then he's a belt mark, because belts don't mean anything, especially something called never open weight belt. What the fuck kind of fucking?
I don't know, but I mean, he's worked in years in New Japan Pro Wrestling, so obviously that title has some form of meaning to him. And again, go ahead.
But again, titles don't mean a damn thing. It doesn't. He doesn't win it, and I'm sorry, folks. Kayfabe out the window. You don't win belts legitimately. You're handed them by the promoter booker. So in this case,
it's still new to me, damn it.
You keep quiet out there. Keep that man down. Medicate him. Give him the same medication that they give Becky Lynch when somebody kicks out of her hold. But anyway, in all seriousness, Rick, he's best option for him. Take Crown. He's going to have to take Crown Jewel, because that's more money and probably be a little bit more favor for him with Triple H. For him to go and say, I can't make Crown Jewel, I'm going to go to New Japan. Yes, it's going to cement his New Japan commitments for future bookings if anything goes south in the WWE. But I think at his age, and I think with wrestling the way it is, and other commitments that he can probably go, they can go to AEW. They've been there before, so obviously he's in a crossroads and he has to choose one promotion over the other. This is going to be no-brainer. Crown Jewel 100%. Make that big payday, stuff it in the bank, and just give the belt up and say, look, I'm giving the belt up, but I want to win it back sometime. Then it's up to the company to see if they'll let him do that. So, all
right. Well,
it's crazy.
See, here's my thing. Now, obviously, WWE and like Triple H seems to be more of an understanding person. He knew what was happening when he signed. He must have known that, hey, I still have a couple of obligations. Not a problem. So, I think at least in Triple H's mindset, he would probably think, you know what? Maybe we can work around this. Maybe we can feign an injury so that way you aren't there, so you can go, do that one match. Because Crown Jewel is 2 weeks away.
Yeah, ironically, that would be a good idea, but then again, when you're in the WWE, I don't care if it's Triple H, Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Earl Hebner, Nick Khan, I don't care who it is, you are protecting of your product first. First and foremost, because they have to rebuild their talent roster. They have to rebuild their shows. And right now, Anderson and Gallows would make a good thing because everybody just seen them in Impact. Everybody just seen them in Japan. Everybody just seen them in AEW. Let's keep focusing on them. So even if Triple H, that's why Triple H brought them all back. He wants to focus on WWE first. Your New Japan deal, if it's either written in its contract or not, because WWE, you're not allowed to wrestle anywhere unless it's approved by whoever signs your contracts. And it still has to be approved by the top person in the company. So in this case, if they don't have that little proviso in their contract, there's no way you're going to Japan. So in this case, you either, suck it up, Buttercup, come over to Crown Jewel, do your thing, and, on the side, apologize to New Japan and say, hey, look, I had to go to the, wrestlers are wrestlers. They're going to go take the better booking, and that's it. So that's my opinion. I think that if he's smart, he's going to do that.
Well, from what I've heard, this is actually part of an angle because he has like 6 dates left on his New Japan commitments. And this angle was actually his idea to draw a little bit of heat, make New Japan a little bit of money for when he can fulfill those commitments because, well, he knew he had to go to Riyadh for Crown Jewel. So everybody happy.
Oh, okay. So it's an interesting twist. I wasn't aware that there was a kayfabe or some kind of a plot twisted in there somehow. So you know what? Hopefully it'll all work out the better, especially for Anderson, because last thing you want to do, you would want to burn any bridges, whether it be with the WWE that you're currently working for, or something that you have a long time history with, such as New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think
Rick.
Yep.
Time out.
What's up?
Okay. Terry just said Rick disappeared again.
I disappeared again? He can't hear me right now?
Let me see. I'm going to put the speaker on. Nope, I can hear him.
All right.
I can hear him unless it's later on, but no. Okay, now he's back. He said.
Oh, okay. I've been talking for the past few minutes, but okay.
That's okay. We're good.
So, anyways, nevertheless.
What's that, Lance?
Can't he hear the rest of us?
I can hear the rest. I can hear everybody. I can hear when so.
No, but, can the feed hear the rest of us?
I'm guessing that's true. I'll have to go back and listen. So.
I just heard us all, so we're good.
All right. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm as I said, I was hoping that Carl Anderson will have to make the right decision if for some reason it's not kayfabe or storyline or whatever, because he has that long, history with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So you don't want to burn that bridge, but you certainly don't want to burn the company you're in right now. So he's definitely in a pickle. So hopefully this does work out for him. And that's pretty much what we have about it for wrestling this year. Not a lot. It's been very slow for news. The only other big topic was CM Punk. Does AEW's got to buy them out, or is he going to, is he going to quit? And I'm like, we've been hearing this for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and all it is the same story twisted different ways.
Well, you know what? They got rid of Ace Steel because they saw he was one of the problem. We're never going to know the real situation because this is one thing. I and this is me personally. I got to credit AEW because back in the old days, nobody knew what was going on in professional wrestling. Nobody knew what the companies were doing. Nobody was doing any leakage or anything like that from news and all that. Whatever happened in the locker room stayed in the locker room. And in this case, they're doing an investigation, and it probably worked out well because, hey, here is Ace Steel is gone. And until they actually do something positive and maybe release Punk, or Punk, you know, or Punk, acts for his release, or Tony Khan buys his contract out, we don't know. But I guarantee you one thing: it hasn't hurt the ratings right now. MJF is still the hottest thing. You've got um, many other talent going up. Orange Cassidy is, the All Atlantic champion. You got a storyline going with Jade Shagill and the Man Beast. So, right now, I think ratings haven't suffered much with Punk's absence. So, I think we're going to see a nice thing. You know what's funny? I'm going to throw one more topic, Rick. I want to say, not really a topic, but my opinion. I think they're building up Wheeler Yuta to join the actual stable, or there's some rift in this Black Cat Battle Club thing, bullshit Regal has, and I think they're gonna do something to either Daniel Bryan or Wheeler Yuta is gonna leave, try to go with Jericho or something. I see something big coming out of that storyline there.
Okay, real quick question. What makes you think that offhand?
Yeah, I'm not seeing that.
Well, if you look at the situation with the last little spot interview they had, where they interviewed him and Daniel Bryan, and Bryan was pushing Daniel Garcia high, like, hey, yeah, he's a good worker, and you could tell Wheeler Yuta was getting annoyed by it. It's like,
well,
he's saying, he's using you. We all see it. And when he said we all see it, it's him, Regal, Claudio. So it's kind of that scenario. Like,
but here's the one thing. I don't know if you caught it. I think it was on Dynamite or it was on Rampage just recently, where Daniel Garcia pretty much, helped out Chris Jericho get the win by knocking out Yuta. I'm sorry, Daniel Bryan.
Yep. I caught that.
So that would take that story and kind of cut it off, I think.
No, it kind of. But if you look at the way he was, he kind of looked at when Daniel Garcia did it. He kind of had that disgusted look, like I didn't really want to do this, but he did it, and that was it. It was that, and when Chris Jericho beat up on, I guess when his faction beat up on Daniel Garcia, you could tell he wasn't too happy with the situation. So that's kind of, like I said, the storyline is kind of twisting and turning. We don't know exactly, but Garcia and Yuta are going to be in the main components to this. Terry 3G says one more thing for us, Rick, and I forgot about this, and I'm glad that he brought this up. Maybe we covered it. My old timers are starting to kick in. Too many knocks in the head. Too many Lance Moss, Joseph at ScoldrensRealm.com, but he says
Joe at ScoldrensRealm.com.
Thank you. At least someone knows how to say it. I'll say something bad before we go off the air, Rick. That way it fits in the show. Terry 3D says, what about the situation, the Athena situation at a dark show in Toronto against the local indie worker?
Yes.
I think she actually hurt the indie worker. She took liberties. Now, I did follow about that, Terry. Thank you very much for that. The indie worker did not complain. She went back. They did ask her, and she says she really didn't have a complaint about it. She says things got a little bit wild, but she was, I guess, you take your lumps. So.
All right, that she was trying not to complain because, hey, right now I need a job, so maybe.
And she needs more bookings.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go into something right after that when we finish this part. So go ahead.
Well, again, like I said, I read the article and I thought nothing of it, that maybe she might have worked a little stiff. And again, like, as you said, her opponent really didn't complain. But I wanted to go back a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes. And apparently, Sammy Guevara has been getting a lot of liberties. He had a fight with Andrade Idolo. And
say it right, Andrade the Idiot.
Andrade the Idiot, there you go.
Or Mrs. Flair.
Yeah, and they were both just sent home. And then Sammy Guevara also had problems with Eddie Kingston, who was also sent home. So
Yep.
there is a lot of fights in the back and this and that, but it seems that, when it came down going back to Punk, the Bucks, and Omega and Ace Steel, it seemed like they're the ones who got hurt the worst, who were like punished the worst. I'm not
Well,
sure if Tony was trying to send a message, but even on the
well,
same.
Rick, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think the difference here is that the Bucks and Omega hold high level positions. They're executive VPs. If I'm not mistaken, they're still
Yes, the
executive.
EVPs, correct.
Okay.
So yeah, all right, I could see in that factor. Plus CM Punk, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one who was like throwing around the lawsuits because he's happy on that shit. He probably has his fucking lawyer on fucking speed dial.
Yeah, right.
Mark Sterling.
Oh, jeez, yeah, right. But you know what? The situation the situation I read about the Guevara Andrade the idiot is basically all idiot's fault because he's complaining he doesn't get bookings, and he was, I think he picked on, I think he said something to Guevara, and Guevara just responded like any man would when it comes to doing a shot at him that probably really took to home. So Andrade is another one. He's a former WWE guy. He's thinks that he's got everything has to be handed to him because he's Mr. Flair. So he got penalized for it. He's the one that should have got penalized. Now Guevara, I think his thing, and I read it, his thing, it was self-defense. A lot of people came to his defense.
Yes, Andrade did attack first. He actually ambushed him. He walked around the corner and just cold cocked him right off the bat without even any warning.
Exactly. Now the situation between Guevara and Kingston was that I think the situation was Guevara tell him, I think as a rib, because that's what was written down as a rib, saying that he's getting a belly, like he was getting fat, and this guy never really, even on the indie scene, he doesn't take criticism of himself really well. So instead of taking it as unjust and maybe it probably improving his look, because fucking Eddie Kingston looks like a 50-year-old truck driver, and I hate his fucking corner chops. Whoever told him that's a good idea is a moron. So I think they tried so many things with Kingston. Remember, he came in, he wanted the respect from Jericho, and that situation didn't go well. Then he teamed up with Moxley for a while, which was pretty good, the hardcore type team. That didn't last long. Now they got him, in this situation with Ortiz, and I heard now that Ortiz and Santana don't get along.
No, they have not been getting along. There's not been any physicalities because Santana's been out on injury. But yeah, they've not been seeing eye to eye, and Santana and Ortiz have they were like true blue tag teams that have gone through multiple promotions. See, these guys literally you could say were almost close to brothers as you can get.
The situation I look at and I've checked it out in professional wrestling today, the indie scene. I'm starting to get back in the business of it, and I'm paying attention to a lot of the indie sides. This is another reason I say look at AEW Dark, because you see a lot of great indie talent that are starving to get noticed. On a lot of these indie talent that are on Dark, they are picked up by more indie companies to work. But I think also the problem I'm seeing is a lot of these guys prefer to be the Shawn Michaels instead of the Rockers tag team. They want to be the Bret Hart instead of the Hart Foundation. They don't want to be a team. They want to move on and be better than the other person. And some workers look at this like, this is who I am. Don't say I'm fat or anything like that. I'm not going to improve for shit as long as I got my little spot in the card. I've seen it. I'm not going to mention names because I love the guy to death. He's like a brother, but there was a show recently, and there was a guy dressed as a Hamburglar. Literally.
Oh my God! Wow.
And he was an out of shape indie worker. He had the striped shirt like a prison person. Had the cornball, had the little mask on his face, the black mask. And he looked like the fucking Hamburglar. okay? A serious wrestling company, and I'm not taking anything away from the person. That's probably your gimmick. You're probably happy being a goofball, but that's not going to get you anywhere,
No.
But some people just go out and they just, well, I'm a wrestler. I don't know a gimmick, but I'm gonna dress up this way. Nobody takes wrestling serious, and then there's some that take it so serious they don't believe in being a team player to help the company elevate. They just want to fucking be Shawn Michaels, super kicking everybody so they can get the spotlight. Wrestling is in a sad shape, especially in AEW backstage. He's the burger meanie. Thank you, like the blue meanie. I hate to say that because the blue meanie's an awesome dude, but Rick, what the product we see in the ring is so great. Just to hear the stupidity in the back sometimes echoes in my head WCW.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. But you know what, guys? We're going to wrap up this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I want to thank Terry 3G for hanging out with us, as always. And, of course, if for those of you who are listening, always check us out in the HWR chat room, and that's in the group section on Facebook. We post the latest news, rumors. I try to put the baby of the day, but I don't do it religiously. Of course,
shame on you.
I know. I need to put some more really skanky bitches up there. Unfortunately,
what's funny? I gotta say this. I just got a news flash here. It says Nia Jax recently went to go see her physician, and the physician says, "Drop your pants and turn your head and cough."
Oh God!
There you go, Lance.
That's Joe Atzkel.
I had to say that, Rick.
And you wonder why Lance has to say it more than once. Those are the disclosure. Anyways, last and certainly not least, I want to give a quick shout out to our good friends, Mr. and Mrs. A, who hold their own podcast over in the group section on Facebook, and that's on Monday nights at 9:30. They play a lot of old retro games, mostly Japanese. They do trivia. They give out gifts, and they just all around are cool people to hang around. So go check them out. Joe, you're over at Skull and Realms. What do you got going on over there?
Well, tonight I'm going to be doing Dead by Daylight, but it is called now Haunted by Daylight because it's the Halloween season. Right after that, I'm going to be doing my Zombies Ate the Neighbors. It is an SNES Halloween game. So I'm going to be doing a couple of Halloween games and also Castlevania and others just to build up to the Halloween theme, which is Monday night. So everybody be careful when you're going out there. Good, have a safe night. And again, take it easy. Don't treat life seriously. Let's all have fun.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we have everybody else who takes it too seriously. I mean, one side bitch I've always had, which, now they decided to push the daylight savings forward before Halloween because, it doesn't want to get dark. So we're going to have to go trick-or-treating and do all of the cool Halloween shit in the fucking light.
Well, what's funny? Back in 1967, we used to go out at all types of time at night, trick or treating, and nobody cared. Everybody was friendly and all. Now it's like you go. Kids don't trick or treat anymore. They don't trick or treat in a parking lot. I know safety and I know all that bullshit, but God, is this generation the most weeniest fucking pussy ass? Worthless, weak ass pieces of shit I've ever seen in any generation.
Absolutely. They got a fucking hair across their ass, the size of a fucking bridge, and they won't cut it off.
Holy crap! Hold up, wait a minute. What? Apparently, in the same physician, they saw Leah Thomas, and he told her to put her pants down and turn her head and cough. So Nia Jax wasn't alone.
Wasn't Nyla Rose supposed to be there too?
That's who. Yes, that's who I meant to say. I'm sorry, not Nyla Jax. Nyla Jax is that other big girl. Who she's better off where she is right now. Nyla Rose, I meant to say. So the joke went around full circle. When you're talking about Nia Jax, you definitely got to go around her. I would have gone completely around her, but my car only had half a tank of gas. So
that's all right. Lance, you're over at Lance Boss TV. What do you got going on there?
Well, right now it's just the live show every Tuesday night at 7:05 Central, 8:05 Eastern, where we shoot the shit for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I'm kind of busy with some other stuff, so I can't do videos right now. So yeah.
Well, we hope to see you get that soon because I'm looking forward to some more Redneck Gourmets.
Yeah, I want to see
Absolutely.
some more guitar builds too.
Yeah, so, all right. So for the Hardcore Crew, I'm your Hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.
Buy the shirt!
Yeah, if you're interested in buying the shirt, go to skulldustrealm.live, hit that merch button. You'll see all our shirts there.